Speaking of the meaning of life and how we're a podcast on the internet, do you think it's harder to become a saint today? Why? And what can we do about it? I was having this discussion with my sister last night.
Which sister?
The little one. We got very deep. It's amazing how deep a 16-year-old can get.
Shout out.
First question, is it harder to be a saint today than before? I could see it both ways. Because on one hand, I feel like I'm tempted to say it's harder today because there's not the religious structures in place, that people aren't, raised in the faith, and you don't have all these supports and, lifestyle things that kind of just were ingrained in the past. But at the same time, then I would think that challenge gives you more merit, that it's not, things aren't just given to you.
That almost maybe that people of faith stand out in a different way, someone who is a
you
saint.
You have to make a choice to do things, and you have to be intentional, more intentional. I mean, not that people didn't before. You know what I mean? I mean, part of it is, I'm assuming you're talking about in the United States of America. Or do you mean in the world?
Yeah, United States.
Yeah, because in a lot of the United States, I would say we have a lot of access to Mass, receiving communion, confession, adoration, all these things. Where until very recently, you received communion twice a year, maybe. It just wasn't a thing to daily Mass, let alone even on Sundays. So if we really believe, all the graces that are part of Eucharist and stuff, we just have so much more access to that.
Maybe it's also easier to receive it with sin then. Because there was that priest that came to...
So explain a little more. You think that there are people that are...
Was it the French one?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of which priest you'd be talking about. Father Philippe?
It might have been him. It might have been at the day of equipping or some of those events. They're talking about how people would go to church and they wouldn't receive communion because they hadn't gone to confession yesterday. Mm-hmm. Or if they had done one wrong thing, it would be wrong to receive communion. Mm-hmm. And these days, I think people just don't think about it.
Right. Everybody just prints
Everybody just goes up to communion.
Part of that is lines, but that's a different discussion. Americans and their obsession with lines.
Yeah. But also my argument yesterday was that it's so much easier to be distracted by
loud cars,
by the internet today, and how some people just sit on their phone for hours and not even realize they're doing it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, essentially that would end up being a sin because you could be doing anything else. Yeah. So it's a complete waste of time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like everybody does it.
Well, I was thinking about this because I had to write something about the virtue of temperance the other day. Mm-hmm. But just how every kind of excess and abuse of things can be a sin, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that is true that I notice in my own prayer life. It's easy to get up in the morning and get on Facebook before, instead of going, I could go to see the daily readings, or I could take a second to kind of pray for my coming day. And so there are a lot of things that we get distracted by. On the same token, though, too, some of the church documents or other prayer resources or things like that are more readily available. So it's, I do think it's harder to be more intentional, but if you are able to, you can find more resources now that's helpful. Mm-hmm.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always. But I think sometimes not having, forcing yourself to be outside more or get away from the internet, you have some of those quiet moments with God and are able to reflect and turn your brain off. But But I don't know, during different periods of history too. I mean, I think there can be antagonism now to people of faith, but depending on the time frame you're in, that seems to be a consistent challenge, or sometimes it's more dangerous than others.
Yeah,
So.
and depending on where you're at. I mean, we're pretty safe here, but there are definitely other places in the world where
martyrdom is prevalent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That was something.
But then that would increase the chances of being a saint, right?
That's what I was going to say. That was something growing up, that when you learn about the martyrs, it's kind of like, again, maybe too quick to dismiss it, but it was like, okay, well, that probably won't happen for me,
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is the beauty when you really start to learn more about the saints, that there are a lot of different paths that people followed, and again, we got to have some new saints that forge their way in modern times too.
Mm-hmm. Was there any other parts to that question? I should have written it down. You had kind of.
Is it harder to be a saint today? Why? And what do we do about it? Look at you, note taker.
That's why we keep her around.
For the notes.
Mm-hmm.
That third question is the hardest, I think. What do we do about it?
I just kind of threw that in there. Just
yeah.
have a third part.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, Mother Teresa or these kind of people would say you need to just work on yourself and be more holy. Like, you don't really have any control over other people, but you just need to strive for holiness. And I mean, like, it's been coming up lately, like being angry but hating your own sin more.
Ooh.
And being more ready to root out your own personal sin.
That's intense.
Yeah, it's really intense, because it's a lot easier to look around other people like, I didn't do that,
Yeah.
but I do a lot of other things, and the world is not a better place when I'm doing those other things. So
That's true. I actually did a trip that was like based on this. It was the idea was, if you change yourself, you can help change your community, kind of thing. And we would get up at this was in India, and we would get up at like 5 or something. You guys know I'm not a morning person, so we'd get up early in the morning. We kind of have to have this quiet time and like really think about. And I brought my Catholic perspective to it, I guess. But so really, what are those sins or things that need to be rooted out of life, and what needs to be kind of fostered? And it was really challenging, because it really is easier to blame others or like complain about things going on in your life, and it is so much hard to create, beautiful and good things, and to deal with your own ugliness is a strong word, I guess, but like brokenness or other things like that. So I don't know. I guess a theme that I keep hearing from what we're talking about too is being very intentional about our lives. Like, I think some of the issues I have in my own life are not always because I'm intentionally like choosing to do something wrong, but it's just kind of because I'm like, whatever, I don't really care, and then it kind of slides from there. Or like you said, just kind of getting on the internet and not really thinking about it, and then you're down a rabbit hole hours later. Does anyone else
like
have
you
that
said earlier, if you start feeling your life sliding out of control, you check yourself and see if you have to go to confession.
Yes. Oh. I was, for our listeners, I was telling these two just about kind of my week and all these thoughts I was having, and I was like, okay, maybe some of it is just, stress, but I didn't think, let's go to confession, and then by the end of the week, and just you can really feel kind of the cloud. So yay for being Catholic.
On the winning team.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell already, we are Catholic, so
that might be in the description of the podcast. Did we put it there?
It's in one of the descriptions.
I think it's in the Twitter description.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Since you all follow us on Twitter, you know.
We should have an automatic response for the Google. Not that anybody's emailed us yet, but that's like, thank you for emailing.
We had one email.
Thunderwudgies. Oh yeah, we had that one email.
No,
that
wasn't
one email.
Dr. Nia did, or was
Yes,
she
that was a text.
Oh well,
Okay, well,
that's a communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was funny. I was in the waiting room the other day, and she came in and was like, "Is that your car?" And I was like, what? There's a car out there with the Deathly Hallows symbol. I'm like, it's not mine. But she assumed it was.
I feel like the Deathly Hallows symbol is not the symbol I would want on me. Like, people get that tattooed on them and have the stickers places, but I'm not sure I would want it, like,
I think
because
it looks cool, but
yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, like some of
The symbol of it is just, it's not like a great thing. What from Harry Potter, we've had this discussion, but I can't remember any of these.
The tattoo?
Yeah, what from Harry Potter would you get tattooed on you? If you had to. Just the letters S-P-E-W.
Skin of the basilisk.
Just get
I would
basilisk
just get
skin tattooed all over you.
Yeah, now this is going to be a total theme of your life.
Yeah,
you realize that. I know, I feel like it'd be very easy to just get something that's like a little wand or, Lumos kind of thing, or, but maybe Neville's toad.
Just a toad.
That would be
Trevor.
so awesome.
It would just be like a heart with the name Trevor on it.
Oh, God.
And the toad would be like this, and it would be on the heart of the toad.
Oh, boy.
I'll draw a quick picture of it and tweet it out.
Yeah, please
Yes,
do,
that's
because...
awesome.
Or Hedwig.
I'm such a processor and a thinker. Whenever you spring these questions on me, I just can't really come through.
I feel like that's part of my job here. Just be a question springer.
I mean,
Yeah, so if we ever
tattoos
sound
are
stupid,
permanent.
it's because of Reese.
Yeah.
Because she's smart and we need more time.
It's not like I have any of the answers.
Yeah, what would you say?
I'm drawing a toad.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking about something about Luna, like maybe a quote of hers or
I'm
something
thinking like
to
a
represent
spell.
her or something. A spell.
If there was...
When God Leviosa.
It would be a feather. Exploding. From
Like
the
the
first movie.
How about
When
the
they're
words?
doing Regarding Leviosa.
How about the
and
words
Seamus
from the
explodes it.
Hogwarts song?
Huggy Hogwarts.
Teach us something, please.
I was thinking if the magazine, the Quibbler, had like a logo, it would be
That would be
the
cool.
logo from the Quibbler.
Yeah.
Although you want to associate your Quibbler. Yeah, I was thinking like
not
Rita
the
Daily
Skeeters. And I was like,
Prophet.
no,
Yeah.
no,
No, the Quibbler would be cool.
yeah,
I would like that.
very
It's very anti-mainstream.
countercultural.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
A hippogriff.
Yeah.
I
Across your chest.
I was gonna say the time turner, but I feel like then that kind of brings back like too much like wanting to redo things, and
So I was thinking like the Deluminator or the Snitch.
the golden stitch.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like if I was actually in Quidditch, though, I would be a very enthusiastic fan.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd actually be that good at flying.
Oh, by the way, you mentioned like who would you want to play or whatever. Or
I think about it.
Yeah, I think Ginny would be fun, or Fleur. You know, like one of these like you're not one of the main characters, but it would just be fun to kind of be like around for that, or like Madame Hooch or something random.
Yeah, I kind of like as you say that it really would be fun to do Luna too, because she's just so odd. You know, it'd be something totally different. Reese is actually drawing
The frog right now.
Wait, what was in the heart?
Trevor, his name.
Oh,
right?
Trevor.
This is amazing. What
How do
about
we
Hagrid's face as a tattoo?
But Hagrid from the book, or Hagrid, or would you, or from the movie, or would you have like an artist's interpretation of Hagrid, or you could do like a Hagrid's face made with cubism, like Picasso, or you could do Hagrid as like abstract. It could just be like
it'd been a drunk.
It'd be like a William Turner painting, but Hagrid is in there somewhere.
As long as he has dustbin-sized hands, that's. That phrase always cracks me up, and it I don't know, comes up at least once each book or something. It's so funny.
So as we were talking, sorry, this may be totally change of subject, sort of.
Don't apologize.
As we were talking about the saints and in our Catholic faith who we take inspiration from, I was just kind of thinking in the Harry Potter books, I know they have certain things like the chocolate frogs that kind of highlight certain wizards, that have accomplished a lot. But who do you think in the books that we're supposed to kind of view as a good path forward in the books? Something like a saint.
Saint Mungo. I want to know what Saint Mungo did. Sorry.
No, you're good. Because it's just obviously they focus a lot. You've got the main characters of the book, you've got Harry, and he's a likable character, but they also show a lot throughout the books of his angstiness. Book 5, I'm looking at you. I bring that up every time.
It sucks.
But,
hey, book 5.
His angst sucks.
Yeah, just the angst.
You know what? You were
sucks.
15 once, too.
I wasn't a 15-year-old boy, though.
But, who are some of the other characters, that were... because at the end, that's a huge theme we've talked about before with Dumbledore, that, he's built up as this great hero, and then maybe he's not really. But is there anyone in the books that we can kind of look to, like the saints, for inspiration? In
The founders.
Living a good wizarding life.
Not the 4 founders, the 3 founders.
Which one wasn't very good?
Gryffindor. Godric Gryffindor was the one nobody wanted.
Wow, I'm sorry, though. The fact that she could walk out of that founders discussion and say Gryffindor...
Well,
you really don't think
Slytherin, where we know
Salazar
Ravenclaw.
with his basilisk and killing people?
was trying to do something good.
It was not good.
No.
Keep the Muggles out.
Oh gosh.
You know
I'm not
what?
going to relate
Everybody-
to any horrible dictators in this-
historical figures.
No, I might have had the same thought just now, so I'm going to edit that out. But I'm going to only paint Slytherins in a good light. Everyone has mistakes that they make.
Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody commits sin. It's a matter of whether you repent or not. I don't ever remember hearing anything to indicate that Slytherin
Repented,
had any...
I am feeling victimized right now and vulnerable, and I would like...
As you should. I'm glad that you're feeling that. I didn't know Slytherins had feelings.
This,
which proves you're a Gryffindor.
This Slytherin would like a safe space, and I need an emotional support animal, and I want it to be a pony.
What about a unicorn?
Thank you. Well, no, those seem
I would like to play the
intimidating.
unicorn.
You want to be the unicorn. Unicorn,
Not the dead one.
dies.
No,
Yeah,
no.
wait, some living one somewhere else.
No, just kind of prancing around in the background.
I feel like, to totally veer back, I don't know, I guess I'd have to think about this a little more, but someone that I'm kind of drawn to in the books, as she's never given a ton of glory, but kind of following that path is Mrs. Weasley. But just we see different sides of her in her, sometimes overbearing or protectiveness, but we also see just that fierce love that she has, and she does have skill, as we see in the Bellatrix fight scene, and I don't know, just she continues in a quiet way, but that's an adult that grows up and is, functional and raises a family, and I don't know what else. I mean, there's something about
She's
her
not that quiet.
No, that's true, but I'm saying, like, she doesn't get a lot of love in the books. Like, she gets some, but, like, she's not a very loud character. Like, there's certain times where she's talked about, but she's not focused on all the time.
A Molly Weasley story would be fascinating to read.
Because she's believable, too. It's not like she does everything right, you know, and you kind of, like, can identify with that, but, she tries to do things for the right
Now
reason.
that you said that, I think Tonks. I love Tonks because she's creative. She does things like way out of the box. She's, what is it called when you can, what is the thing that she does that like most people can't do?
Oh, that she can change her appearance?
Her appearance into other people.
Yeah.
Or other things because she can do like the duck face and that she does in the movie. And then how she has like a weird relationship with her parents because she just like goes off and does her own thing, and they're like always worried about her. Metamorphomagi.
But like the relationship is weird too because like she wants to go by Tonks, but it's like her parents clearly don't want to call her that. I mean, they named her
she's a Hufflepuff.
Fedora.
Yeah, she is.
Going to Pottermore. Fedora, Tonks, Patronus, parents.
Well,
Muggle-born wizard. Oh, her mother was a sister of Bellatrix Lestrange and Narcissa Malfoy. So her parents are both wizards.
Oh. Forgot about that little connection there.
Yeah, because that's why like Voldemort at the end is like totally making, aren't you proud of your family? And like shaming them, and everybody else is laughing, and they're just like. I would be curious to know like what Narcissa does after the books, because she has this moment of where she saves Harry, and like you can live a bad life and then you have a time of conversion or where you choose to do the right thing and it can totally change the trajectory of your life, you know?
Mm-hmm. It was that moment was such an act of courage when I feel like throughout the rest of the books, it's like, I guess we see it more through Lucius than her because we don't get that much detail, but it's like they made a lot of decisions out of fear of of Voldemort, you know, and stuff like that. And so to have that moment where she's like, I know this wizard could kill me and I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. For the love of my son. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you could almost like, then that moment is really big, so she had that kind of epiphany, but then, you know, then do you act on it going forward, or do you kind of stay in on your
still
life
afraid
with just her and her son and her husband? And
right, that's why I would be curious to know. Like you can do that and then just forget about it and keep living your life the way you were, or you could change.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a priest say once, growing up, that once you change for the better, there's no turning back. He was talking about conversion. Mm. And it's like, well, sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but it's an interesting...
Yeah. I feel like it could go either way because I think her reasons are somewhat selfish. You know, I've heard people argue that they're just like totally selfish. I don't think they are, because if she only cared about her son being alive, I don't think she would need to save Harry in order for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Like she could have asked him, is he alive? Yes. And then been like, oh, Potter's alive.
You know? Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. It's hard. It's not the same as like choosing to do something totally right versus like choosing to turn something in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like she didn't. I mean, I guess she defies Voldemort and the fact that she lies, but I don't know.
I think it's interesting putting it so close to the experience of Neville too, because like he had everything to lose. Like he could have. It's kind of when Voldemort comes. I guess I'm thinking the movie. I haven't read that book in a while, but like how he could, follow Voldemort. There's that kind of moment like you can save yourself, and he's like, no,
I always found that scene strange. Like,
really?
did Voldemort, first of all, did Voldemort think he would actually consider that? And then...
He had that happen in the past, though. Like, people were so afraid of him that it's like, they'll do most...
But I feel like he'd been fighting him actively for so long. It's not just like some rando on the street. You're like, I'm going to kill you or you can join me. Oh, okay.
But Neville also had a personality where he was... he's not that great a wizard. He's been scared a lot of his life. So, I don't know, maybe. What do you think, Reese?
I don't remember this part of the book.
Maybe it's... I don't know, maybe it's not really like this in the book, and maybe I'm only thinking of the movie, so... But, like, they're kind of going out and walking out into the rubble, and they see Harry lying there on the ground.
Yeah, they bring out the dead body.
And Voldemort's like, give up, like, submit to me, and I'll let you live. And
all of the
Neville.
people, or just Neville? I don't remember.
And they kind of make fun of his parents.
To the purebloods, maybe, but I think it's specifically towards Neville that he makes this like appeal. Which, like I said, I just don't. It didn't make sense to me too, because I also feel like, why would you believe Voldemort if he said like, you're going to join my crew? Like, I wouldn't believe you. You're a bad guy. I've been fighting against you. Like,
I feel like he wouldn't have known Neville at all. And, like, viewers know that Neville, like, how he reacted even in the episode number 1.
yeah.
I'm treating it like Star Wars, calling it episode number 1. In the Sorcerer's Stone.
Philosopher's Stone.
How he even stood up to his friends. So why wouldn't he stand up to Voldemort then?
Yeah, Voldemort definitely wouldn't know that piece.
Yeah.
That in the first book. He
thinks Neville is just this stupid, like, little boy who's not a very good wizard. But he's actually so much more.
He's pretty amazing.
He's a really good character. The whole thing about him, it was either between him or Harry, about Voldemort just having to choose one, and he just happened to choose Harry. But then Neville was the one with the fire all along.
Yeah, so when you're referring to the prophecy that Professor Trelawney made, and Voldemort hears it and picks one of the boys. He could have picked either one, but that was one day going to bring about his downfall, and Harry was the unlucky one chosen.
The chosen one.
But in the end, Neville played a big part in him coming to the end, too.
He killed the last Horcrux.
And
we need to come up with a sign-off. Send us a tweet at Thunderwudgie.
Or send us an email at thunderwudgies@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and
Cheerio. Thunderwudgie is hosted by Reese, Annie, and Teej. We're at Thunderwudgie on Twitter, and you can send us an email via thunderwudgies@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. L'épisode de Rouge or something. Because you're talking about language. No, were we not talking about languages on the podcast?
No, I was going to say it again because I made that noise.